Okay, area and perimeter of circles. So let me point out first on the calculator, right here above the rooftop, caret key, here's the divide, here's the rooftop. Right above this key in blue is the pi symbol. So to do pi in your calculator, you push second and then the rooftop button, and it brings pi up on the calculator. I want you to use your calculator's pi for all of these calculations. I know that you know that pi is about 3.14. Let's all be consistent. Just use the pi key in the calculator. Now, what are we going to need to know? First, we need to know what a radius is. A radius extends from the center of a circle to the edge of the circle. In your mind, you're thinking it only goes halfway across. It's half the distance from edge to edge going through the center point. Diameter. Diameter is another measure of a circle. A diameter is a line segment that goes from edge to edge, running through the center point. And if you'll notice, hey, here's a radius here, here's a radius here. So a diameter is just two radiuses put together in one single line segment. If you can wrap your head around that, it's going to make this somewhat easier. Okay, a radius. We just got through seeing that it takes two radiuses put together to make a diameter. So a radius is the measure of the diameter divided by 2. Now we don't use this formula, or we do use this formula pretty often whenever the formula that we're needing to use needs a radius measure, but they give us a diameter in the exercise. This is the one that we don't use very often. A diameter is 2 times the radius. Okay. There's 2 formulas in particular that you will use. One is area. The area of a circle is pi times radius squared. And then circumference. I'm just going to abbreviate it. The circumference of a circle is 2 times the radius times pi. Or, since 2 times the radius is the same thing as diameter, or diameter times pi. So for circumference, we can use either the radius or the diameter. It doesn't matter, just whichever one they give us in the exercise. All right, here's a circle. I have a radius drawn. This is the radius. If you turn to an exercise and it has an R right there, then that means this is a radius. This is the diameter. Sometimes it will just have a D for diameter. So in your exercises, you will have to calculate sometimes the area, sometimes the circumference. Let's just start with the circle that has a radius that equals 3. Let's find the circumference first. Circumference equals, I have a radius to use, so it's 2 times the radius times pi. Now I just simply get this value for radius, I plug it in here, and so it's going to equal 2 times 3 times pi. Then I get the calculator, and I type it in just like that, 2 times 3 pi. Enter. And it tells me that the answer is 18.849. I'm just going to round that to the nearest tenth. All right, so 18.8. It's about 18.8. Now in these exercises, it's going to have a unit of measure like inches. If it's inches, then this answer becomes about 18.8 inches. Circumference. Now area. I'm going to find the area of this same circle. Area is pi r squared. But pi aren't really squared. Pi is round. Cornbread are squared. Sorry. So pi, we can do that in calculator. Square, we can do in the calculator. It's r that we need a number for, and here it is right here. R equals 3. So we pull the r out, replace it with the 3. Pi times 3 squared. When we go to the calculator, we type that in. Pi 3 squared. You'll notice that I didn't use any parentheses around the 3. Pi is a symbol, and when you put that symbol right next to a number, the calculator knows that you mean multiply. 28.3. 28.3 inches squared. Area is always squared. When you write the answer, it should be in units squared. In your notes, I use the letter U to represent units. Units is like inches, feet, miles, centimeters, meters, ounces, pounds. U squared just means whatever unit of measure it happens to be. Okay, so we found the circumference, we found the area. No problem. How are we to do it though if they give us a diameter instead of a radius? Well, let's use a diameter of 5 and make it centimeters. The diameter equals 5 centimeters. So the circumference equals, right? I have the measure of a diameter. I have the formula for finding circumference if I have a diameter. So it's d times pi. The value of d is 5, so I replace the d with the 5. And I go to the calculator, and I type in 5 pi, enter. 15.7. 15.7 centimeters. Now circumference means how far is it from one point on the edge of the circle all the way around back to that one point. If we were able to take this circle and lay it out flat, it would become a line, linear. And it would have a length. And the length would be in units to the first power. It's just 15.7 centimeters long. No height, no width, just length. That's why we write our answers for circumference in units, and then we don't write a power up here. The power is actually 1, and we don't write the power of 1. Now area. Area equals pi r squared. But we don't have an r. We have a d. So we're going to have to work with the diameter to get a radius. Radius equals the diameter divided by 2. So 5 divided by 2 equals 2.5. So our radius is 2.5. Replace the r with 2.5, so pi times 2.5 squared. Now we type that into the calculator. Pi 2.5 squared. 19.6 centimeters, this is area, centimeters squared. So about 19.6 centimeters squared. Okay, so I typed in pi times 2.5 squared. You can change the order of multiplication, so if you accidentally type the coefficient in first and then pi, it's not going to make a bit of difference. As long as you use pi and not e, you will still get the same answer. Area, circumference. Now, what does area mean? Area means the entire inside. Area means the number of 1 by 1 centimeter squared it takes to fill up this entire inside of this circle. If this were miles, then it would be 1 mile by 1 mile squares that fills up the entire area of the inside of this circle. That's what area means. Okay. For some of your exercises, it says that the circumference equals, I don't know, I'll just make something up here, 64 centimeters. What is the area? Now, why would they do that to us? Come on! All right, you can do this. The geometry part is recognizing which formulas you need to use. Then it just turns into basic algebra. And not really even that, because you learn circumference and area in 7th and 8th grade. Now, if they give me a circumference, and here's one thing I know about circumference. It comes from 2 times the radius times pi. So there's my equation that I need to solve. If I solve this, it will tell me how much r is. And then I can use that value to calculate the area. So 64 equals 2 times the radius times pi. I need to get the r by itself. It's being multiplied by 2, and it's also being multiplied by pi. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. And there's nothing that says that I can't divide by two things at the same time. So here we go. I'm going to divide this side by 2 and pi. 2 times pi. So I must divide this side by 2 times pi. That makes this cancel out, and the only thing left on the right is r. And 64 divided by 2 pi. Let's see, 64 divided by 2 pi. 10.2. 10.2. Now notice the way that I type this into the calculator. Calculator is going to follow the order of operations. There's a very good chance if I didn't include the parentheses, then here's what it would do. It would take 64 divided by 2, get an answer, and then multiply that answer by pi. That would be 32 times pi. That would be a whole lot bigger than 10. Let's see. 64 divided by 2 pi. Yeah. So don't make that mistake. Put your denominator in parentheses. And that way the calculator is forced to multiply these two numbers together first, and then use that number, that answer, to divide 64 with. So this is the correct answer. This is the correct way to type it in. This is not the correct answer. This was 64 divided by 2, which was 32. And then take that and multiply it times pi. 100.5. Right. So R equals 10.2 centimeters. R equals 10.2 centimeters. Remember, we started out, they gave us the circumference. Now we need to calculate the area. Area equals pi r squared. Now we have an r. We solved this to get a value for r. So now the area. Pi r squared. So the area equals pi, here's our r, times 10.2 squared equals pi 10.2 squared, enter, 326.9. 326.9 centimeters squared. There's our answer. Took us a little while to get there, but hey, we got there. The geometry is this part and this part. The rest of it, all of this and all of this, is just algebra, solving for the unknown. Well, what if the tables are turned? What if they tell us that the area of a circle is, I don't know, we'll just use 100.5 centimeters squared. And they ask the question, what is the circumference? Okay, they've given me this information about the area of a circle. Area is pi r squared. So this 100.5 centimeters squared represents pi r squared. Circumference is 2 radius pi. I need this value right here. I need r, and here's what I'm going to use to get it. I'm going to solve this equation. Now when you're working to solve, you leave the centimeters squared off. So 100.5 equals pi r squared. Here we go. When solving an equation, we actually use PEMDAS backwards. Unless there's parentheses force our hand, otherwise we use PEMDAS backwards. I need to get this r by itself. I have something being multiplied to it, I have it being raised to a power. So there's no subtraction going on, there's no addition going on, there's no division going on. There is multiplication going on, so I need to take care of that first. the r squared is being multiplied by pi. So I need to divide by pi, the opposite operation. That means that pi goes away from this side, and I have r squared left. Now over here, 100.5 divided by pi. 100.5 divided by pi. 31.99. I'm just going to call that 32. 32. Okay, so now we've taken care of the multiplication. There's nothing being multiplied to the r now. And now it's time for the exponent. We need to get rid of this exponent. It's a square. The opposite of squaring something is square rooting something. Now the reason why we're square rooting is this square root takes the square away. That's all that it does for this side. It takes the square away. The two, they join hand in hand and they walk off to the park on a sunny day to see all the flowers, blah, 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 blah. They're gone, and we're left with r only. So r equals, now in the calculator, the other side, square root of 32. All right, square root 32, enter. 5.7. 5.7. So r equals 5.7. Well, that's good because our formula for circumference needs a value for r. So circumference equals 2 times radius times pi. Take the r out, replace it with the value for r, so 2 times 5.7 times pi. Type that in the calculator just the way that it looks. 2, 5.7 pi, 35.8. This is a circumference, so it's a measure to the first power. So the answer is 35.8 centimeters. Centimeters. Okay. On your worksheet, sometimes you're given a picture. This would be a radius. Other times they just give you the information. There's nothing different about working these two problems. If they just tell you, hey, the radius equals this, then you just take that value, you plug it into whatever formula you need, and you solve it. If they give you a picture, you have to know, here's the radius. Now take that value, plug it into whatever formula you need, and solve it. There you go. Okay. You can do this. I know that you can do this. Read over the notes that I sent you. Look it up in the book. Watch this video a couple of times if you need to. But really, that's it. If you have questions, call me, send me a message. If you're going to email me, I can get the Gmail email on my phone. That's probably, besides sending me a text message, mailing ectormath@gmail.com is probably the easiest way to get to me. My other mail, the one through the school, is sort of delayed. I can't get it on my phone, so I have to be around a computer. I do check it quite often, but like I said, sometimes it gets delayed. But at any rate, just send me a message if you're having trouble. Thanks. Bye.